There are lots of great income strategies that work really well when the markets are going up. But what about when the market's falling? What about when there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of anxiety? Does anything work well? The reality is many income strategies fail or just perform really poorly when the markets are falling. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through an alternative income approach that, based on the backtests, have performed really well. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about income strategies. We're talking particularly about income strategies that work really well, or at least are profitable even when the markets go down. And in reality, I feel really confident with our put credit spread strategy when the markets are above, let's call it the 200-day or the 190-day simple moving average. But the truth of the matter is, if you're in retirement or you're near retirement, you need income consistently, we need some sort of an approach to create income even when the markets are falling. And previous backtests of call credit spreads haven't worked very well. So in this video, I want to share with you a specific put credit spread strategy that's a little bit different from a days to expiration perspective, a little bit different from a delta perspective. And I'm going to show you how it performs with multiple different ticker symbols. We're going to look at 3 distinct timeframes when the market was underneath or underperforming the simple moving average, and we'll just kind of take a look and see which one works the best. So I'm going to share my screen here with you guys, and we're going to talk through, we're looking at the eDelta Pro platform, which I utilize for a lot of options backtesting strategies. Our primary strategy for put credit spreads is some variation of QQQ, or maybe SPY, but definitely QQQ, utilizing a put credit spread strategy, a $5 wide spread, and utilizing a relatively aggressive delta, probably about a 35 to a 45 delta, 45 days to expiration, and then closing the trade at or around 21 days left until expiration. And we would operate this strategy whenever we are above the 190 to 200 days simple moving average. And by the way, that strategy does not perform very well when we dip below the 190 to 200 days simple moving average. So went through a lot of different variations of this strategy. And so really what I'll share with you here is a variation. It's still a put credit spread strategy, but what we're doing here is we are operating at a much different DTE. You can see here 120 days to expiration. We're also closing the trade with 21 days left until expiration. The delta is far more conservative than what we're used to. We usually would utilize a 30 to 45 delta. Here we're looking for the short strike to be at around the 15 delta. It's still a $5 wide spread. And we looked at 3 distinct time frames. So as we can see here on the chart, there was really 2 types of crashes we've experienced, or types of recessionary or drawdown timeframes. And we've got the one here where I would point out, like, it's a hard and fast drawdown where we draw down like right here in this range, where this is the tariff drawdown where it's significant and it's a really big drawdown, but we pop back out of it pretty quick. Same thing over here with COVID, right? COVID was a steep drawdown here, came back up and out of it pretty quick. And then we have what occurred right here from around November to 2021 down through February, March 2023, where it was kind of a slide down. We bounced around, came back further, up a little bit, down again. So this is the harder one to solve for, I think. These are a lot easier to solve for potentially. So the 3 timeframes we looked at was this right here, this time frame by itself. Then we looked at this time frame right here around 2021 through 2026, right here. And then we went back even further, and that's a little too far. Here we go, right around here, 2016 through 2026. Now, obviously, during this time frame, we were above the 200-day simple moving average quite a bit, but there were times when we were below it, and how did we handle that? So let's dive into the results here. We've got those 3 different time frames, and actually I have a spreadsheet that I want to share with you guys right here. So we've got the 2022 recession, the 5-year return or time frame, and then the 10-year time frame. And we tested both QQQ and SPY during this time frame, though it's definitely my preference to utilize QQQ consistently, but if SPY can potentially offer better returns in this type of unique time frame and environment or strategy, then I'm certainly open to switching over to SPY when that happens. So SPY being the S&P 500, QQQ being the NASDAQ 100. So here is the results for QQQ. I got the screenshots from the eDelta Pro backtesting platform. Same thing for SPY right here. And then we've got all of the individual day-by-day data for the two different strategies. By the way, if you want access to this spreadsheet and all other spreadsheets I create on the platform, an ever-growing log of all of the backtests I've done on different option strategies with eDelta Pro, and of course, access to an amazing community of like-minded income investors, well, then you have to think about joining the Average Joe Investor Income Academy on the school platform. We've got a great forum for discussion. We've got office hours every single day of the week where we live trade my portfolio and go over questions or concerns. And we also have a continually growing classroom for content to help you get up to date on how to understand options, a massive treasure trove of spreadsheets, in my opinion. If you're interested in checking that out, check out the link down in the description below. Okay, so looking at the 2022 recessionary timeframe, what we can see here is that for QQQ, actually, let me scroll down and look at that chart here, right here. Here's the 2022 recessionary timeframe. SPY, or the S&P 500, is in orange. QQQ, the NASDAQ 100, is in blue. What we notice here is that with orange, we don't have any, except for this timeframe right here, we have a little bit of a drawdown right here in July of 2022. Otherwise, just continues to grow every single time we do the trade. And then here, a little bit different with QQQ, we have a little bit of a big pop up here, and then it draws down, and then it grows back up here again. And if we look at the actual details here, we'll notice that for QQQ, the profitability here is at it's an 83% win rate. Okay. Overall, we're plus 1325, so it's still profitable. With SPY, we're at a 98% win rate, and we made more money here, net profitability higher, which makes me think at a 98% win rate, you almost are maybe being a little too conservative. I'm thinking maybe we could go to a 20 or 25 delta maybe and get even better results. But 98%, I'm not going to argue with that. Still really good results, only when we're below the 190-day simple moving average. That's the way these back tests were set up. So that's the 2022 recessionary timeframe. Let's take a look at the 5-year returns, 2021 through 2026. Let me just scroll all the way up here. This is all the data, same screenshots here. So this is QQQ. This is SPY over here. Same idea. We're working with the 15 delta in this specific test. And this chart is actually fairly similar. The only real difference here is this is all the same right in this time frame here. We were above the 200-day SMA here, I guess 190. And then the only thing extra we get is a little bit right here in the tariff drawdown, which they were both about equally profitable, maybe QQQ a little bit more during that time frame. But the same thing here. We went up with QQQ, came down again, and then grew back up. But we had no such problem with the S&P 500 here in orange. For the 5-year, we had a win rate of 85%, so that improved. Average P&L was profitable at plus 30, and then overall, we were plus 1831. Whereas over here with the S&P 500, we were at a 98% win rate again. The average P&L was plus 43. Per week. And it's just one contract, by the way. So you could easily scale this if you wanted to have more contracts or more capital in play. And then we were plus 2492. So plus 2492 versus plus 1831. SPY wins again. All right, let's go to the 10-year time frame. Same idea here. For QQQ, we were at a 91% win rate for QQQ. Plus 38 per P&L trade, and then we're at plus 3772. SPY over here, we were plus 45 instead of plus 38. Win rate still 98%, very consistent, and we were plus 45.25. Same kind of idea here. We did have a little itty bitty drawdown with the S&P 500 right here. Okay, there was also another one right here, which we already talked about. So we were looks like QQQ was outperforming here going into 2017. Same thing here through 2019, right? And then, but you'll notice that I think you could make the case for, at least I guess the only change is right here. They're about the same here through 2019, 2020. Actually, QQQ was outperforming, and then they were about even going into 2020 here during this time frame. And this was the drawdown here. This was the COVID drawdown where SPY did much better than QQQ. And when we look here, we can see that SPY outperforms, and at that point, it just runs away with it. So what we see across all three timeframes is that with respect to being below the 190-day simple moving average, that slow curving line that gives us that trend, The S&P 500 does appear to be a better investment vehicle as an underlying for selling put credit spreads on these timeframes, like the 120 days to expiration and closing those with 21 days left, which, by the way, you might be thinking to yourself, well, why are we closing with 21 days left? Because we want to take away the potential risk of getting assigned. With 21 days left until expiration, the likelihood that someone would request early assignment on a put credit spread or any type of put option that they own is really low because there's still a lot of extrinsic value left in the trade. Obviously, there are going to be different ways to iterate on this strategy. This is not the only one that is likely profitable when the markets fall below the trend making, the 190 to 200 day simple moving average. But this just based on the back tests, of course, who knows what the future holds. We don't know if this is going to continue to be profitable, but it was profitable in 2022. It was profitable from 2020 to 2025, and it was profitable from 2016 to 2026. So pretty good standard or foundational spot to start from, and you can always make iterations from there to see which of these strategies best performs under that time frame. Again, guys, we're all about here on this channel trying to find ways to create consistent income from our portfolios. Whether you are somebody in your 20s and 30s and you just want to retire early and you want to create income now, that's fine. You want to pay for a certain expense, or maybe you're in retirement now and you're trying to create consistent income from your portfolio. That's what we're all about here. And I firmly believe that one of the best ways to do that is to utilize options. Hopefully you found some value in this video, guys. Make sure to leave your 2 cents down in the comments below. It's my goal to respond to as many of those comments as possible on the day I post a new video. If you want access to the Average Joe Investor Income Academy, check out the link down in the description below. Great community. I can't guarantee you're going to be profitable or make money, but what I can tell you is that you're going to learn something new and you're going to love the people you spend time with. That's all I got for you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for watching.